Welcome back, everybody, to the one and only Gold Rush Weekly Watch List, the greatest show on earth. Yeah, I believe strongly in this watch list session, and I think that hopefully people are paying attention to it, making sure that they're making money. We've been pretty spot on these past couple of weeks, so I'm gonna go right into it. I don't want to waste any time. So the first ticker that I want to look at real quick is ES. That's S&P futures, what we track pretty much on a daily, minute by minute. And so I want to see what it's kind of been following our trend, our broadening formation. As you recall, last week we saw the rejection at the high here on the top of the formation, and really it's just a downtrend line, right? So now we saw the rejection start last week, and we had a strong pullback into this week. Now, if you look at the week, if you look at the actual day on the right-hand side, you see that we pulled back. We pulled back a little bit, and then we really kind of made the real move, right? Now, Monday was a continuation of last week Friday's downside move, and then we kind of based a little bit at an area where we had previously had indecision, and then from there we kind of gapped up. But let me just throw some volume on this. Yeah, so we made a move up, and it was a nice move with some good volume too, but it just wasn't enough, right? Now, due to, I don't know if it would be considered an end of month rebalance or the fact that it was just like the last Friday of the month. I'm not really quite sure, but the fact of the matter is we had more sellers than buyers on Friday. Maybe a big catalyst was Jerome Powell's commentary, but nice move with some good volume up on Thursday, and then Friday we just undid all of the price going back to pretty much to the end of July. So all the price action was undone on Friday. So what I'm seeing for the long term, if you look over to the left-hand chart on ES, is I think that we're going to come test this level here, this 38.94.75. It looks like the next target. So really the first target would be the bottom of this candlestick here is where I think that we're headed. And then from there, there's an area where there's a lot of indecision that occurred and a lot of basing. So I think that we might put this up here. I think that we might land back in this area, right back in this zone. And now, if you recall, last week I said, and I got rid of some of the studies on my chart and some of the indicators on my chart, but if you recall, I said that we would end up coming back into this box last week. Let me see if I can find it. And we did, right? And so now I thought that it was possible that we were going to there it is. Yeah, I thought that it was possible that we were going to chop around in this area for a bit, and I mean we kind of did. We fell into it hard on Monday, and then went sideways for the next 2 days, broke up on Thursday, and then fell right through it on Friday. So it didn't take long for us to break through this area, right? This area here. Now, I think that it'll take a little bit longer for us to make a decision out of this next box, and this box to me is like a clear magnet, right? Very clear magnet. The only one thing I would say is maybe the 50-day will hold us up at 39.98, so maybe we have a little bit of indecision there. But underneath that, and I think that we're maybe like 2 days or 3 days of chop, and then we're gonna fall, right? That's my opinion. Now, I think that when we get into this box, the lower box here on the weekly, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks where we were trading inside this box, right? As opposed to like 3 weeks that we were trading in this box. So I think that it'll take us, we'll hang out in this area a bit longer. And then from there, either we're going to go up and retest this broadening formation trend line, or we're going to come down to where my ultimate target is at 34.85. 34.85. Now, I've been bearish for quite some time. I've been bearish for ever since I noticed that there was like a head and shoulders forming over here on SPY, on SPX, on the weeklies and monthlies. So I've been bearish for like 2 months now, 3 months. Even throughout this rally, right? So I think that we're gonna come down here into this box, consolidate, and maybe from there we can either go back up and then come back down or go straight down. My ultimate target for the short term would be this 34.85, and then longer term I think we hit 3200 if we continue to be bearish, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and put the line here so I don't forget it. I just put it there, that's fine. And 3200. So that's ES. Let's look at NQ real quick, and then I have not too many to look at this week. And it's been very hard for me to find bullish chart, look at the chart and get bullish. So there's only a few that I have that are bullish, but I'm gonna go through them pretty quickly. Nasdaq futures, same thing, same exact thing. For the short term, I'm targeting 12,000. Underneath that, we can get to 11,296. So it really depends on what happens at 12,000. Like once we get into the same box, right? This is the same box as ES. So once we get there, then it depends on what's going to happen. So I mean, pretty cut and dry, pretty simple. Nasdaq is a little bit. It's like a more a heavier, a tech heavier ES. Obviously, Nasdaq is tech futures. So and tech is like the biggest leaders and the biggest constituents of the SPX, so SPY, SPP, whatever you want to call it. So with all I say that to say that this will probably give you more violent moves. So if you want to watch NQ, you can watch NQ. These two are about the same. They move about the same. I think maybe ES is probably a bit more accurate in terms of how it translates to what we can trade, right? SPY and SPX and all that. So, and if you trade QQQ, you can just watch NQ. That's that. Let's get into my list. I have just a few. So the first one is Walmart. I'm loving Walmart to the downside, and I've been, when I do these calls, I usually look at the weekly, and then from there I kind of isolate into the daily. So I'm loving Walmart right now to the downside for this week. I don't think that it's gonna, like we're in the middle of a broadening formation, and just draw my line there. We're in the middle of a broadening formation. I would say the middle of the formation is I would say the middle of the formation is right around here at 144-ish. 142, I'll call it right there, that's fine. So what I like to do is I like to draw where the middle of the formation is to know, like, as long as we're underneath this, we can stay bearish, right? Even if we come up to kind of test the middle of it, we can remain bearish, right? So I think that it's easier for us to get to the bottom of the formation than it is to get to the top of the formation. And then if you look at what Mrs. Bloomberg posted on the trade floor just now, she said a tweet from TrendSpider. WMT, the Walton family continues to sell shares, approaching 1 billion for the month of August. They've been selling all the very beginning of that sell cycle here is August 17th. They might have been selling prior to that, and they've been selling on the 17th, 18th, 19th, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th. So they've been selling pretty much for the past 2 weeks. So that's another good catalyst. We had earnings, and they gapped up on earnings, and a lot of it could be them taking profits. Like they probably took profits on the 22nd and 23rd because it went from 100 and price closed here at 132.60, and on these 2 days they hit a high of 140.93 and 142.72. So why not take some profit, right? Especially if you made a bunch of money on those 2 days, why not take some profit? But anyway, I think there's gonna fall. I think that there's a few names in this sector that are primed to fall a little bit. What I love about this setup is we have a weekly inside bar, and so and we're just, I think we like even bounced off the range of last week's low, right? The low of this week was 131.51. Last week's low was 131.36. So just like we're like pennies away, right? So a couple of pennies down, and then we can trigger the downside move. At least I want to at least come down and break and touch this trend line, and maybe see some buying pressure over here a little bit. If not, I mean, honestly, breakdown and a $2-3 move with Walmart will be enough for me to be happy with. I think that we can come to test this level at 128.65, right? So break 131.36 at 128.65. And the way that you really play that, in real life, IRL, is break 131.36, take profit at 130, hold the runner, see what the runner does into 121.65. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll be watching Walmart for a put play this week. And that's obviously if it's market supported. If the market says, yeah, we're going down, then Walmart's a good candidate to go down. Especially with that catalyst with the Walton family selling all their shit.
Hey, Huey. What kind of specifics, right there, a contract that I could save?
Yes. So I would look at the 130 puts. Let me open it up. I haven't looked at the contracts yet. In full disclosure, let me just take a look at the contracts real quick. And I should start adding contracts to these plays so that everybody has them. Let's see. All right. So Walmart, bearish for this week. Let's see, September 2nd. The 130 puts they have a bid ask of 85 and 92. So you can bid 87, 88, get a nice fill. Or you could bid 90, right, and get an immediate fill. The open interest was 937, and the volume traded on Friday was 1063. Right, so volume exceeded open interest on Friday on the 130 puts. The 131s are 120 on the bid and 127 on the ask, so you could probably get filled at 125. And they had an OI of 592 and a volume on Friday of 422. So some decent volume coming into it. I guess people were trading other things. A lot of people don't really trade Walmart. Walmart's usually, the numbers are kind of weird. And then the 128s, which are quite far out, but that's my ultimate target, 128-ish. So it's quite far out, but it's not unattainable, especially in 1 week. And these weeks they do from a low of 131, like $5. They have $5 moves for the week, right? Some of these, right? This one had like a $10 move, so you can get lucky and get like a nice move. So 128, it's right there, it's attainable. The 128 puts are the bid of 43 and ask of 46. And 157 in open interest, 1198 contracts traded on Friday. So the 128s were getting hammered. So I would, for safety, I would stay at the 130s. Right? Let me just type that up. For safety, I would stay at 130s. 130s like almost a short, especially if it goes down. Not a short shot, but if it goes down, 130 puts are safest. And 131s, I mean, obviously 131s are safest. 130s, because I like to play out of the money. 128s, a little riskier, but can go ITM, right? So, and these contracts are super cheap. I thought they would be more expensive. I wouldn't force the trade. I would kind of wait for it to trigger down, and the first trigger would be the breakdown of the weekly low. So, and then the 128.65 is also where the 50-day is, right? That's what the 50-day is. So I expect it to come down and maybe touch this trend line. And if it goes through the trend line, strong stop at the 50-day. Look what it did here, right? It kind of fell into it and then it bounced out of it. And then from there had earnings and it went crazy. But I think that we can retest it. We can come back to retest that 50-day. So I would watch the 50-day on the daily chart. So 130s and 128s. Those are the ones that I will keep on watching. The next one is, and thank you, Carr, for keeping me accountable. I'll do that for the rest of these. The next one is BMY. BMY is they have so there's kind of a head and shoulders here on the weekly, right? Let me get rid of this. There's kind of a head and shoulders, but I mean, really what I see, and you know what? Before anything, I'll go to the monthly. I see a bunch of sellers up here. I see just a bunch of selling pressure up here, and we are a 2 down on the month, so that means that we broke the range of the previous month to the downside. On the weekly, we did a weekly kind of evening star reversal here, where it wasn't at the top of a trend, but it was a breakout, indecision, and breakdown, right? And so I want to see it kind of halted at the previous high of this week that I'm pointing to at 7104, 7102. So what I want to see is it kind of break that and then fall into the bottom of the range of this same candle. So I want to see it get back into the range of this candle here, between a high of 7102 and a low of 6875. So BMY break down below the high of this week. That number, I would target the 70 puts. And the 70 puts for BMY are, let me see, just to read it out to you. I'm extremely, as you'll be able to tell, I'm extremely bearish. Everything is downside, downside, downside for me this week. 70 puts are 52 on the bid and 66 on the ask. If you're patient with these, you can get a very nice fill, right? And BMY is one of those that sometimes it'll be in a contract and it'll be down like 50% and then immediately be up like 30%. They're very they're not very liquid, so you just have to be a little careful with that in terms of your emotions and your mental. Yeah, and then when this thing doesn't need to move a lot, and when it does, you get paid a lot. We've made a lot of money with BMY in the past. So I would watch the 70 puts between 52 and 66. I would probably bid and that's the price as we're discussing it now. I'll probably bid like 55 and just wait for it to get filled. What would I say? 60 puts, 70 puts at 55. Right, and this is all for this week. And we can obviously you can get next week's or next month's or whatever for more safety, which I think that's a strategy I'm gonna have to start employing myself, because I don't like gambling and weeklies feel like gambling sometimes. So let's look at the daily real quick. I mean, this is really kind of ugly price action, but what I see is this big old box here, and it's falling out of the box. It's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 back-to-back lower highs of day. I think we're gonna test the 200. The 200 is at 69.87. Right, so that's what I'm targeting. 69.87. No thing. Underneath the 200, then we go back into here, right, into this area here, which puts us right at the bottom of this range of this week. So that's what I'm looking for. If you want, you can take the 70. You can take the 68. The 68s have, or maybe the 69s. The 69s are 32 on a bid and 39 on the ask, and not much open interest, not much volume. So that's just something that you gotta kind of be aware with this ticker. I would probably bid 30, 36 or so for a faster fill. And I would consider this one risky. I would stay as close to the money with this as possible. I'd rather be in the money faster and make more money than to suffer waiting for it to make a bigger move. So I would play the 70s. The next one that I have is, and let's look at real quick. Let's look at and then yeah, MACD and TTM both show that there's more downside to this. Momentum is falling right now to the downside. So I think the 200 is an easy target for BMY. Next one's Target. Target on the weekly. Target has this broadening formation on the weekly. Let me just expand this a little bit. There. You have this broadening formation on the weekly that seems to be playing out, and so I think that we can work our way back into the middle of the range, which puts us right back around here at 145-ish. Will it happen? Probably not, but I just see some downside, especially with Walmart selling the way that it has, and Costco looks extremely bearish. It's actually one of the ones that I have on my chart now, on my watch list now. I think that Target is going to be an easy one to kind of follow suit.
I've got cost on the put list too.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you, bro. Like it looks like it's just gonna waterfall down, bro. It's it's the next one actually on my list. So I think like we can just get a nice downside move in this whole sector. I mean, it made a nice move. If you look at the weekly, it made a nice move to the upside. Even if it's been slow, it made a nice move, and now it's kind of a bunch of sellers stepped in on this week. And let me see if I can throw volume on it so we can see what the weeks look like. Yeah, a bunch of sellers came in on that on the week of earnings and dividend, and then some increased volume prior to. If I'm looking at just the volume on the week, and this week's volume had higher volume than 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. Like it's just higher, right? More people are stepping in to sell. We're underneath the 200, underneath the 100, underneath the 10 and the 20. And the only thing that might hold us up is a 50, right? The 50 is the only thing that might hold us up. So, and momentum indicators, I mean, right now we're bearish on the MACD and it could swing up, but it could also just re-engage like how it did here, kind of swing up and then re-engage the downside. Swing up, re-engage the downside. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for it to re-engage the downside. TTM just fired to the downside. 2 candles to the downside, so downside momentum. And then we just had a hard rejection at that 100 day, so I think that's going to be the next. You know, we're going to decide what we do from the 50. I think we're going to flush through this 50 pretty quickly, in my opinion. And then from there we can work our way back up. Let me see. Let me just add some levels to this. I'm going to do break of that candlestick. Will put us here, and my ultimate target's here. That's my ultimate target for target. If we do upside by some miracle, I would break out of this kind of range here, and then we can play back to the 100. But I don't see the upside happening right now. Let me just unsync these so that they don't show up in the weekly. So yeah, I think. And do we have a catalyst? I don't think there's a catalyst. I think it's just, you know, September is a slow month seasonally for a lot of these companies. I think that Target, their business will do well in September because it's back to school, and I think that Target is like one of the go-to places. I know in my household it's Amazon and Target for us, right? We're always at one or the other. So I think that their business will do well, but that won't be reflected in the share price until they report earnings the next time, which would be over here in November. So I see some downside. Retest this area. You know, even if we retest the top of this range here. Where's my mouse? Here. Even if we retest the top of this range here, right? Come down, retest this area here, find support on a previous resistance, and then from there work our way back up. But for now, I see downside. I want to go back into the bottom of this level here. Maybe we can see the weekly makes it look so much easier too. There, right? Or realistically, there. That's my target, 151, and then underneath that we can hit the 145. And same thesis. It's just you know, it's been moving up, has to pull back a little bit before it continues to move up, or just pull back because the rest of the market is pulling back. In terms of this contract, I would play. I'm targeting 151.93. I would play the 150s. The 150s are currently at bid of 40 and ask of 45. I would probably give it some time though. Let me look at next week's. September 9th. 150s are 90 on the bid and $1 on the ask, so 95 cents. Not a lot of volume and open interest. I guess people are playing weeklies, but I think that that's a nice number for safety. And if we get there within the week, then these contracts can 3x, because the 160s are currently $3.50 on the bid and $3.70 on the ask. So if we make a $5 move to the downside, then the 150 will be in the spot of the 160, and it'll be about $300. So looking for 3x. That's a good contract, actually. That's a great contract. The 997. What is it? The September 9th 150s. September 9th 150s. And then we're not getting killed by theta. And in this, 2 or 3 indecision days. Yeah. And then if you want, you can play the weeklies. If you can jump into those, jump into the 9.9s, and if you see a big red day, you can jump into the weeklies for a scalp or for day trade, and you'll get it'll be around 40. You can just get an instant fill at 45, right? Instant fill at 45. But I like next week. Let's see. So that's that. Next one I have is Costco. All right, Carp, what's your thesis on Costco?
I mean, just gonna go down. My kid's still sleeping.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm having a hard time getting the iPhone to turn the screen sideways.
I'd be locked, bro.
You got the weekly on the left, the daily on the right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking at the 500 puts.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like it broke trend, the upside trend on the daily. Little head and shoulders action, same with the rest of the charts. But yeah.
Yeah, I think yeah, you're spot on, bro. I see what drew my attention to it was the weekly. We were in this weekly channel, this blue channel, and we broke out of it. We fell out of it on a couple weeks ago, and then we got back into it, which is super bullish, but then it rejected. A bunch of sellers came in, rejected, and now we're completely out of it, right? And so 500 is quite far, but it can do it. The only thing I'm worried about is the moving averages. Let's see. It hasn't really had a reaction. I mean, the 200, it kind of had a reaction with the 200 here on the 26th of July. So I want to see a reaction there first, and then from there let it make a decision. The thing with Costco that I noticed is Costco picks a direction and then just like it's like a bull. It's like a stubborn bull, right? Like an ox rather. Where it'll pick a direction and then it'll do whatever it needs to do to continue to go in that direction, even though it has some crazy headwinds. So what I mean is like, starting here, we kind of moved up, came down, and now we formed a higher high and higher low. And then from there, we have a higher high, higher low. Big, like it just wants to keep going up. And so it makes these big, crazy, gappy moves. And then it kind of formed all this, kind of rising wedge here, fell out of the rising wedge. And then where you would think it would fall down to at least come and test some support over here at 500, it just continued to move up. Right now is when it's kind of showing signs of weakness because we didn't form a higher high yet. Like there's no higher high over here. It's the first like kind of higher low, lower high. And so now it's looking like it's reversing trend finally. But I say that to say that maybe we'll come down, pull back a little bit, and then like gap down hard, right? So maybe the 500s, I say that they're quite far, but they might be good for next week. Let me look at what the contracts look like. And one thing I noticed with Costco is you have to catch it either on the day that it's moving or have patience to hold it. Have patience to hold it in order to capitalize on the move. So let's see. 99. Yeah, the 500 puts are on the bid side, they're 219. On the ask side, they're 258. And I bet there's there's decent OI. There's 975 in open interest. 57 contracts were traded on Friday. So obviously that number is going to increase as time goes on. But I think that's a good, that'll be, as that week approaches, and this is probably something you can hold into the week. 219, I'm just going to put the bid and ask spread. As the week approaches, you can hold into it, and then you'll see that the 500 is going to get a lot of activity just because it's a nice round number, magnetic number. Like 500 is like a very, very key psych number. Let's see on the 500 puts for this week, which I would definitely say is far out. So what I would do is probably either scalp it or day trade it, or maybe swing it overnight for one day where everything pulls back. The bid is $1 and the ask is $1.23. And it has 319 in open interest and 353 in volume. So people were trading it. Let's look a little bit closer to the strike real quick. The 525s have the highest volume on Friday. The 530s have the highest open interest. Or the 500s actually have the highest open interest on Friday. Interesting. The 525s are between 5 and 550. 92, 525 puts. $5 and $5.50. I personally would rather buy 5 of the 500 puts than 1 of the 525s. But the 525s are much safer. And it's almost like, 525 is where pretty much where the 200 day is. So you can almost bank on it, right? Just set my targets. Now we need to break down below this level. And this could easily just say, "Oh, this is recent resistance. All right, let's find support here and go up." Like, you could easily do that. If it does that, that's fine too. But I want to see it kind of break down below this level here. From there, just put in one candle and hit 525, right? And then hit this 200 day. See what it wants to do with the 200 day there. And then the only thing is now we have, at that point, we have the 50 day kind of lurking. We have the 100 day right here kind of lurking. So 515 is going to be kind of a hard spot to break. 515-ish, right? Right there is going to be kind of a tough spot. Right, but the momentum is, I bet the momentum on this is, it's regained bearish strength on the MACD, and it put in a nice downside candle. The MACD line and signal line are extended to the upside, so they have a nice swing possible to the downside. And then TTM just fired its first candle to the downside on Friday. And TTM usually, these things, like, it's not like a one histogram and done. It usually has a nice swing to it. So I think that we can easily come back to test some of these levels. So, maybe the 500 for this week might be a nice little lotto. Nice lotto to cop it on Monday and see what it does. But I like it for sure. And there's so many levels here. Let me just get ready. Leave that one. So those will be the ones that I like to target. I think that 523 is pretty easy. If we get another nice week of decisiveness out of Costco, we can easily hit that 516, and we can hit this anchor VWAP. Why is this here? Hold on. Not hit. But we can probably hit 500 pretty easily, depending on, maybe not this week, maybe next week we'll hit 500. So I would buy 500s out for the next couple of weeks. All right, so the next one I have is Amazon. Now, I don't really have a thesis for it. Like, I was looking at the weekly, and I don't really like. So, all right, two things. I have on my notes. I'm looking, and I say weekly cup and possible handle, but I'm looking for a weekly 50% retracement, right? So what I want is, I want this. I want to pull back on this move here, down to where this 50% line is, which is at 126.32. Here, that's what I want. Right? I want it to come there. Now, looking at the daily chart on the right, you see there's a massive gap that Amazon is currently in, right? We have this massive gap. Let me get rid of some of these moving averages. So we have this massive gap that Amazon is currently trading in. The gap is from here to there, right? And we have the same kind of sector-wide, so and I say sector, and it might not be considered the same sector. I think Amazon is more tech than anything else, but we have Walmart looking good to the downside. We have Target looking good to the downside. We have Costco looking good to the downside. Amazon looking great to the downside, right? It had a bearish engulfing on a Friday on Friday's price. We filled this gap up to the upside before we flushed it down on Friday, and now we have this massive gap to fill. I don't know if we're gonna do the whole thing. It would be nice because it would give us a 0.382 retracement. It will bring us back down to this 0.382 level. So, but for now I'm targeting 126.32 as 50% retracement of the upside move. if I'm looking at a contract, and I'm not really in tune with Amazon, so that's why I just like I put it here. I'm kind of lukewarm about it. To be honest with you, I probably won't call it unless like I see a bunch of flow or crazy open interest and volume on it. Something that's gonna draw my attention to it. But if I'm looking at it, I would probably play the 128 puts. Are 175 and 181, and 175 and 181 for this week, right? And then if we look at next, let's see what else we have for this week. You can even play at the money at 250, at the money at 130. 250 to 254, so nice tight spread. Can't complain about it. Both of these have decent volume. Let's see, the 128s have 6,000 contracts traded on Friday, 1,900 open interest, and the 130s have 22,000 volume, 22,000 contracts in volume, and 5,000 in open interest. So a lot of attention to the downside for Amazon. Obviously, that's the history, right? Open interest and volume is from the past, but you want to watch it on Monday morning and see kind of if the open interest increases from 1941, and the open interest for this one increases from 55.72, right? So that's what you want to watch. If you see that there's an increase in open interest, then that means that people are holding their contracts and maybe they're looking for this gap fill. So I would just watch out for that. I like that a lot. I like this setup a lot. I was looking at the weekly. Not the daily on this when I put it on my list, and the daily just makes my thesis even stronger because we have this nice big gap here to fill. Yeah, and my ultimate target for this is 126.32 at first, and then from there, kind of let it decide whether it wants to completely fill the gap or move up. We also kind of have a falling wedge here, right? I mean, falling wedges are really ugly and hard to draw, but we have a falling wedge potentially here, right? And based on this gap up, there might be a bunch of demand sitting here somewhere, anywhere in this box. So falling wedge into potential demand it's very bullish. So I would just be aware. But I'm watching it to kind of retrace 50% of the move at first, and then from there we can figure out what we're gonna do. Let's look at next week's contracts actually. 9-9. Let me see what they have. The 130s have 3,000 in volume. 3,000 in open interest, 2,900 in volume, and they have a bid ask of 340 and 355. The 126s, the 127s have 1126 in open interest and 1595 in volume. And they're not 125. 125s are good, but I think 126s or 127s are probably better for the following week. If you guys might notice that I've been playing a little bit closer to the money on pretty much everything. Because I don't want to lose money. I'm tired of losing money, right? So I like to get close to whatever, get the strike that we need, and then get it, and then attain it. And from there you can roll, or you can just hold, right? And once you're in the money, you're safe. You're a little bit more safe in regards to data exposure. So the 127s for 9-9 are 231 and 236 on market, and they have an open interest of 1126. So I would watch these. I'll probably watch these for the gap fill, right? You can get them now, and then you have enough time that you can hold on to them for the week. Probably break even if it doesn't do what it needs to do. But I would probably watch these. I can't do individual ones. All right, well, yeah, I would watch those. MACD and TTM support the move, and let's throw the moving averages back on. There. We're underneath, and we're underneath everything. Like we're underneath the 21, the 50, the 10. Sorry, underneath the 200, the 21, and the 10, and we're targeting the 50 and the 100 with this move. And then from there we can decide what we're gonna do, right? So, and same thing with Amazon. Amazon, like I must have spent like a couple $100 on my kids' school supplies on Amazon. So same thing. They're gonna do great in terms of their business, but I don't think that any of that stuff is gonna be reflected until their next earnings, and also, like, you know, people are taking profits on this because it made a nice upside move, and also I think that investors are just worried about the remarks made on Friday, and seasonality. There's a lot. Seasonality is not good usually for the market in September, so there's just a lot of factors that tell me that it's going to go down. So that's Amazon. Next one is Microsoft. Microsoft has this trend line on the weekly, right? Has this weekly trend line that it looks like it's gonna try to fall out of. And now, so, you know, warning, like this, I did it from the wick here, and I kind of just ran it through all of the other wicks. This trend line can easily be like this. It can easily be like this, right? It really depends. But what I'm seeing that it's coming down to test the lows to see if it'll maybe create a new lower low, right? So I'll go ahead and put this in a dash line so that, dash line so that you can see how much weight it holds. It doesn't really hold that much weight. What I really like about this is, I'm going to change this to here, is that we pulled back over 50% of the move, right? So we had this impulsive move up, found the high, and we pulled back, more than 50% of the move. So now, for me, and this is a kind of what I wanted to illustrate with the trend line too, is we can still hold an uptrend, right? Microsoft might make a couple $2 or $3 move downside and hold this 382 fib right here, the 38% fib, and also hold this uptrend line. As long as it doesn't retrace into like this area here, like if it doesn't do a full retracement, then we're still in an uptrend. We can come down to 236 and we're still in an uptrend, right? And then from there we have to go and make a higher high, but for now we're still in an uptrend. Right, we have this higher high, higher low, and then from there we can potentially go for a higher high. You know, anyway, all that's to say that I'm still very bearish on this. I think that I probably won't take action until it gets to this level here at 266.47, right here, right where this green line is, coincidentally from God knows when, because I don't have it labeled. But I think that we can come down to that level, make a decision, and then from there kind of take a play. Now, if you look at the daily chart, we're underneath every single moving average that I have between the 10, the 20, the 50, 100, and 200. We're underneath all of them, and we broke through the 50 on Friday. Now, let me just see historically. Yeah, I mean, we were above the 50 for a couple of weeks. Over here, when it made the highs, over here when we pulled back in that bear market rally, and over here, same thing, pull back on a bear market rally up above the 50. We spent a lot of time below the 50. We spent a majority of this year below the 50, so I think that's where we're going. We're going below the 50. You know, we currently are underneath the 50-day, so I think that we continue to spend time there. Now, I'm just going to look for it to see if it kind of reverses on this level here, 266-ish. 266.52 I have for the fib. I'm just going to draw this, you know, see what it does at this level. If it shows any sort of reversal pattern here on like the 4 hour, the 2 hour, 1 hour, then at that point I'll probably change my thesis. But if it breaks through, then I think that we have a lot of downside, at least down to 236. So it's just that, right? It's just that. We look at momentum. Momentum's on our side to the downside. We got a nice swing on the MACD. I'm looking for the MACD signal line to come back to zero. Maybe not a full swing to the downside, but at least back to zero. And we put our first downside on the TTM. And same thing, TTM likes to swing. It doesn't just put one candle. It rarely puts in one candle and then changes direction. Usually it stays in the direction for a while. So more downside. Wouldn't trigger until the break of this fib. So it can, and to, it depends on what your risk tolerance is. I wanted to probably clear all of these levels, so I'm willing to give it. We closed at 260, 268.09. I'm willing to give it a full $2 move before I jump in. And knowing how the market might move, we might even open up down here and then kind of try to fill the gap, and then from there fall down, right? So, but I want to see it underneath that fib, and I want to see it underneath that that green line. That green line is there for a reason. I'm not sure what it is, but I want to see it underneath it. If we look at Microsoft for this week, the 260s are $1. The market is between 166 and 180, with a open interest of 1,500 and a volume of 25.22. So as you guys know, when the market is weak, Microsoft and Apple are usually the ones that. Well, Apple's been strange. Apple's been relatively strong compared to the rest of the market, but Microsoft typically will show a bunch of weakness. Meta will show a bunch of weakness. Amazon shows weakness, right? So Microsoft will be one that I think will be easy to kind of fall. The expiration there. Let's say 166 to 180. 166 to 180. And the OI of, and again, I put OI here so that you can track it and see. Okay, it was 1513 on Friday, and on Monday it's 2000, and on Tuesday it's 2500. So that means that the open interest more people are entering and holding this play. I bet that a bunch of people are gonna hold this, right, from Friday's trade. It was 25.22 in volume, so involved. So you're gonna see a bunch of these people who traded this add to this number. So all right. So and then if we wanted to do something for next week, and maybe you can swing into next week the way that SPY and SPX and QQQ and NQ and all that stuff is set up. It looks like we have a multi-week pullback, as I just like I mentioned on Apple, but I'll go through that quickly. So you can either hold this into the 9th and make some money, or you can hold 9/9 contracts into this Friday and make some money. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. The 260s for next Friday are between 280 and 345, so a much wider spread than I like. And I bet you that's just because somebody just set their bid to 345, or they set their ask to 345, to try to squeeze somebody to set their ask very high so that somebody can buy market and get filled at their very high ask and be clapped instantly, right? But anyway, I would watch that. 842 is OI. So I would just I would keep in mind this one. I don't like the spreads on it. I'm sure they'll tighten up as the day actually, as the day opens. Either somebody's bid will go up or somebody's ask will go down. Looking at this, I mean the bid is in line with the other bids for the other strikes. The ask is, so let me read you the ask. The 265 ask is 520. 262.50 ask is 425. The 260 ask, this one is 345. And then underneath that is 261 and then 230. So, I don't know. I guess they're all in line. So I would just keep an eye on it. Watch the OI increase. Let this tighten up a little bit. I like the ones for this week. Microsoft gives you moves pretty fast. So, I would probably play this week's personally. Let's see. Next one I have is MU. And real quick, let's look at Apple. So Apple, the reason why I think we have a multi-week pullback is because Apple's had that like 10 back-to-back new high of week. Like just crazy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 back-to-back new highs on the weekly. And so we should pull back at least 3 weeks, right? We should pull back 3 or 4 weeks down to this level here. So Apple's is going exactly as planned, and I think that Microsoft is going to do the same thing, right? I think that most of the tech is going to do the same thing. Bearish engulfing gave us back all the money that we made in the past month or so, right? And I think there's more. So Microsoft is going to do the same. I think it's going to do the same exact thing. It's going to pull back, maybe pull back, maybe bounce here on this 382, pull back a little bit, and then flush again, right? That's what I'm looking for. That's why I mentioned Apple. Apple is going to do the same thing. And I can go ahead and draw the broadening on this. This one's a little bit different. There's a lot. I'll do it on my own time. Anyway, the next one that I have is MU. Weekly, breaking weekly support. That's it. That's my thesis. Nothing else. It's breaking support. Here's the support line right there. I wouldn't take action until it actually breaks through it. Right here. It looks like it tested it on Wednesday. Right, it tested it on Wednesday. Underneath that, on the daily, you have 56, whatever that is, 56.46. Underneath that, we got this big candle. I won't put the. I mean, we can mark it, but just we can break easily down through this and into the range of this candle. Let me see something. See something real quick. Real quick. I'm testing this session volume profile. 370 is a point. That's what I want. Listen here. Alright. That's what I want. So I'm looking at and while I have it here, MACD looks like it's swinging. It's gonna potentially turn to the downside. I mean, this thing will slow on a weekly. So if we get one more, smaller week here, or we get the cross, or get closer to the cross here, then that's all we need is 1 week. We don't need any more than that. Right? Bunch of sellers here, or indecision. Buyer stepped in. Sellers took control. We're still inside the range of this weekly candle here, right? We broke down on Friday, but I would still consider it inside the range just because buyer stepped in at the very end. I want to see sellers step in and break this down, take this number, take this level down here, and then from there we can kind of test. The safest entry. Safe entry would be here at 57.29. Safest entry would be 56.46. And then from there, I would just watch these levels where there's a bunch of volume. This is the volume point of control for the sessions at this time. So I would watch these levels. And that's it. That's pretty much it. It's underneath the 50, underneath all the moving averages. This one's the 200 is actually pointing down, so that's very bearish. You look at the MACD and TTM, they're about to reclaim. Now the MACD looks like it's kind of squeezy. The reason why I say that is because big swing, small swing. Like this is a squeeze right here, and now we're kind of making a decision to the downside. TTM regained bearish strength on Friday's candle. So if we carry the momentum from Friday into this week, then we can easily come and test some of these levels. That's pretty much it. I don't have much for MU. I mean, it was just really it's breaking down below the support here, and I think you can see 55 at least. If I were to choose a contract, I would look at, let's see, September 2nd, 56 puts. So, I mean, still a little out the money, but September 2nd, 56 puts at 75 and 79. Nice, tight. And then you got 1628. You know why? And volume actually exceeded open interest on Friday. You want to get a little bit closer. I mean, you could even play at the money, to be honest with you. It's so cheap. Like, why not play at the money? Between 132 and 136 with an open interest of 123. So not a lot of people played it, but you can, right? You don't need to. You don't need to. You don't need to wait for everybody to show up at the party. You could be the first one there. That's safe, and it's like almost secure. It's like almost a sure bet, right? In the money puts. Let's see, and then next week, the 9th. The 9th, we can play the 55s look really nice for the 9th. I think they're a bit far out, but they look really nice in terms of their numbers. We got 0.94, 0.98 with an open interest of 1331. And only 55 people traded that contract on Friday, but 1331 is nice. It's very nice. So, and then if you want to play a little bit closer, you could play the 56 puts for next week. The 56s are between 124 and 129 with an open interest of 244. So again, I just add the OI so you guys can start tracking it. You see if it increases, then you know that more people are jumping into the play. Very simple, right? So those will be the ones that I'll target. So that's that. Next one is BYND. BYND is just it's holding the broadening formation to the downside. We spoke about it last week. I forgot what I said, but it has like an H pattern that is forming, right? Just like a massive H bull flag, and then we had the breakdown of this uptrend here into the top of this broadening. We had earnings already. All that shit's like everything's done. It's part of my language. All of that's the reaction to earnings was massive with a big bullish engulfing, big squeezy move, and then everything just kind of flushed after that. So I see more downside. I see at least we can go back to 23.75. From there we can go to test the 22.20 level. Very simple, straightforward. We missed it last week. I did mention it, but I never like looked at it all week. So I gotta do a better job of keeping it on my radar. But we missed a nice downside week. Let's see, September 2nd, 24 puts. I'll play 24 puts for 9.2. 9.2, 24p at between 92 and $1.02. And the open interest of 128. That OI is pretty weak, but it is what it is. And then if you want to play, even in the money is not bad on this. 25p's at 138, 151, 1037. And then if you want to look at, I wouldn't go further out than 24. You can, I just wouldn't. You can do the 2350s for this week if you want a little bit more higher percent gain, right? Potential, more risk, more reward. Then you could play the 2350s. They have a decent spread with an open interest of 82. So not a lot of OI on the put side. Not a lot of OI period, I think. Let me just take a look. Yeah, not a lot of open interest on BYNB for this week period, but I think it'll start. You'll see it flowing in as Monday, Tuesday rolls around. You'll see a bunch of people the spreads will tighten and more people will jump into play. And then if you want to do next week, I mean, I don't know about. I really just don't know about next week. I think that we, what? Let's find one for next week. Let's find one for next week that we can play for this week and be a little safer, right? Maybe you don't want to hold it into next week. Maybe you want to just have the safety, and you can even day trade it, right? The 23 puts are between 99 and 111, and there's an open interest of 294. And then the 99 There's a lot of people on the 22s. Let's look at the 22s. The 22s are. I like to look at where the OI is, because that's where the volume will be, and that's where there's a reason why there's a bunch of people playing these 22s. And maybe it's just the fact that it's a nice round number, right? But also, I like to have the reason why I like open interest and volume is because if the numbers are high, that means that there's a viable market there, and you can get into and out of a trade easily. At the very best, at the very least, when you're trading and you're in the heat of the moment, and let's say you buy the wrong strike, or you buy a put when you meant to buy a call, when you have a strong viable market, you can, like, let's say this one's like bid ask of 70 to 79. If I paid 75 to get in, and I want to get, and I made a mistake and I didn't mean to get in and I want to get out, I'm not losing a lot. I'm losing only a couple dollars because the market's so tight and so strong. Whereas some of these spreads, if you look at like Livongo, Broadcom, SE, Melly, those things have like really wide spreads, like $1 spreads, sometimes $2 spreads. And if you get into the wrong trade there, you're not getting out. You're losing some money. You're gonna pay for it, right? So, that's at the very minimum why I like to look at good spreads. And the real reason is you can get in and out fast. You get nice fast fills, and you can go on to the next trade. You don't gotta go crazy. Next one I have is CCJ, and then I have one more after that. We'll take your request. CCJ has been holding this trend line on the weekly, right? Holding this weekly trend line. It put in a bullish engulfing on last week. And then even with the retracement on Friday's price action, it kind of pulled back just slightly, not too heavily. It's sitting at the 786% fib. So I want calls. I wanted to retest this high at 27.94, so I would just buy 28 calls. I would wait for it to actually turn around. Let's see, and we're in calls already. Where's my? I don't even know what count this. I have so many trading accounts. I really have to clean this up. We're in the 2750s for this week. So you can bring your average down on that, or you can get into 28s, or you can wait for, it depends. I might be the only one in that trade, but I want to see it basically kind of reverse at this level here and then work its way back up. I like that it held the trend line. There's a bunch of resistance in this level. You can see a bunch of resistance that actually came in on Thursday price action. So I want to see it hold and kind of break, and then hold and then kind of work its way back to 28. That's what I'm looking for, essentially, for CCJ. I will play 28 calls or 2750s for this week. You can do 9-2, 2750. You can do 9-2, 28. You could do 9-9, 28. Right. And these are 9-2, 2750s are between 52 and 56. Right. Tommy complained one day that I didn't have my zeros in front of my period, my decimal point. So he's like, you wrote that wrong. I'm like, bro. All right. 52, 56, and with an open interest of 270. What's going on here? OI 270. 28 calls for this week are have an OI of 1285 and a bid ask of 36 and 40. Right. And the 28 calls for next week. 28 calls for next week. 6.2, 6.8. With a OI of 268. So this is one of the few, big bullish engulfing on the weekly. I know saying big bullish engulfing on the weekly, right? holding the uptrend. Well, the only other thing that I would say about this that is potentially, and there's a catalyst too. I think there was something going on with in uranium that this is gonna benefit from, and I forget what it was. I think the news came out on Tuesday. I'll look for it and I'll post it when I see it. But there's something in the market that's going on that's gonna help TCJ. The only thing that I see that can potentially hurt us is this, right? Right, this. So just keep that in mind. And if we want puts, we can play it back to the trend line. I didn't mark any levels on this because I want to see what it does. I want to see what it does. Let me just draw. I gotta draw that so that people don't get confused. Right. You can't even see that. So potentially, right? So let's just be aware of that, right? Let's just be aware of that. I don't see that happening, especially with the catalyst that we have. So I wanted to hold this level. Let me just put my line there. I wanted to hold this level, and from there, turn around, have some buyers step in. You're at the 786 fib, previous support, previous resistance, holding a trend line, bearish, bullish engulfing, and good momentum to the upside. And we fired our first candle to the upside on TTM. So I just want more upside. Even if it goes sideways for a day or two, I want more upside. I want to invalidate that head and shoulders. Last one that I have is X. X has the same exact setup. Well, not the same exact setup, but a similar setup. Bullish engulfing on a weekly. It's at the center of the broadening formation. So it can go any direction, right, up or down. But and right now we can stay down. But based on this move here, let me just draw quickly a trend-based fib. We have here to there. There's your support. So all right, so we have the MACD just flipped. It flipped up high, which I'm not in love with. Like, it flipped up high. I'd rather this have flipped. I'd rather this have occurred down here, the way it did over here, like down here, so it can swing up. So I'm not in love with that, but we did get a flip. Maybe we have another week, maybe a couple days, of a trade out of there. And then we have a TTM that rose and fell, and now it's showing strength again. So again, we might just have a couple days, right? We might have a quick and then come back down. And let me see. So I think when I mentioned this, I watch X all the time. I think when I mentioned it last week or a couple weeks ago, I saw this cup and handle. We had this kind of cup and handle here that broke out to create like a kind of a bigger, longer term cup and handle. Here's the handle, and then big moves. So, and then it pulled back into the 200. So here's the 200. It failed the 200 on this day, on the 11th of August. It pulled back pretty hard, and then it regained all the moving averages, especially over the 100. And now we're underneath the 200, so we need to kind of reclaim that immediately at open. Once we can, from there, then I think we can play these levels to the upside. And that's it. It's just bullish engulfing. It smacked the bottom of that broadening, so that's still in play. Bullish engulfing and needs to hold the 200-day moving average. I would play at the money. I find the best success with X at the money. Sometimes we go out of the money and just get killed. So at the money on a Monday is a nice solid play. We can play the 2550s. 2550s and you guys start getting your requests ready. 2550s for 9-2 are between 69 and 71 with an OI of 441. Right. And then if you want a little bit out the money, I wouldn't go further than 26s. 9-2 26 call at and decent spread. It's like the spread is like airtight, good spreads. Right? An open interest of 11.18. So I like those. And if you want to do next week for safety and potentially a multi-week swing, then you can play the 26s, the 2550s or the 26s for next week. Both look good. So 2550s for next week are and open interest of 3,000, and the 9-9 26 call 0.75 and 0.8. So I might just play next week. These are so cheap that why not just buy the extra time, right? Why not buy the extra time? And these are $42.95. I like these for next week for sure. I think the next weeks are much better. So, and we're at the money. It was pretty safe. It's all contingent on holding that 200-day moving average. All right, so that's it. That's what I have. Let's see, CCJ October, and then where is it? Mrs. Bloomberg says CCJ October 25 calls coming heavy. FYI on news. Japan turns back to nuclear power and significant policy shift as fuel prices soar. So we have our CCJ catalyst. The big order came in with the whales. So the whales there, and then you have you got Japan switching over to, and that was on the 24th. That was 4 days ago. That was on 4th, 7, 26, 25, 24. That was on Wednesday. So we have a whale of an order on October expiration came in on Wednesday, and we have the catalyst with Japan switching back to nuclear from whatever energy source that they're currently natural gas or whatever it is that they're currently using there. So that's a major catalyst. That's a major catalyst. Because Japan is a major country, right? They're a big manufacturer, auto manufacturer, and electronics manufacturer. So they use a lot of energy. So that's a really nice, really good catalyst. All right, so let's see. EA Electronic Arts. Do they have anything coming up? They have dividend on the 30th, which is on Tuesday. I do not like this chart. Let's see the 1 month. This is a tough chart to read. I don't know, cup and handle maybe? I don't know. It's a very difficult chart to read. We had a gap up on Friday. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new lows back to back, and then what you can consider to be, I'll do it like this, a pivot machine gun where price went all the way up to break out through all of those, but it failed on Friday. I hate playing gaps. This is tough, man. This is a tough read. If it holds, so there's a reason why I did this, right? Obviously, there's a reason why I did this. The volume spiked on Amazon buyout rumor. Okay, so if this continues, so some coiling, higher low here, right? Here's a low, here's a higher low, some coiling, and then it kind of fell up, it broke up above the moving averages on the daily, and then fell, and this candle's an inside bar, and this candle's an inside bar. So we're still within the range of this move, right? We made a big move up, and we're still within the range of kind of this one candlestick. So it looks, and I'm like doing it with my finger now. It looks like it's kind of curling, or potentially, right? As long as it holds this range here, it can try to test this high, and then from there it can get above these highs. I needed to claim this high in order for it to be bullish, right? We have these highs. I wouldn't get into it until it gets into that high. Let's see, anchor VWAP from candle, gap up candle Friday. That's something used for reference. Okay. Let's see. That's how you guys use this stuff. Okay, cool. So that gives us another support level. Let me just change this to a different color. It's kind of hard to see. Yeah. So. Wait a minute. So this is the anchored VWAP, and I think I have it for my low. Let me see. It might be the low. Let's do this. So where I want it, the level that I want it to be at is right where the anchored VWAP is for OHLC. Let's see if I do. I just want to see what it looks like different way. Yeah, high is gonna be up there. The low would be. So we can reclaim the low, and then if I do the low of this one, then we need to stay above. We need to get back above this box here. We just need price to be back above that box. I would prefer it to be above 135.77, or we could just call it 135. Even would give us a little bit more, little bit more assurance that it can actually make the move. Let me just see something here. Session. Yeah. Yeah. I want to see it up above like 135. I want to see it in this area here. 30-minute. Yeah. It lost a VWAP. So it's lost so far. It's lost the low of this candle, and it's lost the low of this candle, and it's definitely lost a high of that candle as well. Definitely, it's never had the high, right? It's never had the high. Let's do. Let me just move it to here. The high of this candle. Yeah, the high. I guess it does all the highs. I guess that's how it works. Let's do this one. Yeah. So, I needed into 135s in order for it to be bullish. It does have a small gap to fill, and by small, it goes from 130 down to 127. So that's a $4 gap, $3 gap. You know, rumors, you got to catch them when they're there. I would keep it on watch because I would keep it on watch just because obviously a bunch of volume came in. There's a bunch of eyes on it. Right, bunch of eyes on it. It's above all the moving averages, so that's nice. If it does fall, I would wait for it to kind of hold some of these levels here, but I want it above 135. I don't have anything on it now. I mean, let's look at the chain, see if the chain tells us anything. I'm sure there's a bunch of call flow that came in either prior to or right after the news. And we're at 132. Let's see. Not much open interest on the call side. The biggest OI is the 139 calls for next week. Has an open interest of 186. On the put side, the biggest open interest is 123. Has an open interest of 304. 123 puts this week. So it's tough. I mean, you know, because looking at this price action is interesting. Obviously, the gap is nice, and then it has the AV WAPs. But looking at the weekly, uh, let's see. I mean, that was the monthly I was looking at. The monthly looks like it triggered to the upside, so we can break the upside fully, like get the candlestick up above the upside in the next 3 days, and then from there we can try to test the top of that previous red candle. Uh, right, break the upside, like fully get this body up above this wick here, and then we can potentially try to test that area there. But then on the weekly we have kind of a broadening formation, right? Uh, kind of that kind of forming. This is so the thing with this is now it's moving on news. I don't know. With this, I mean, the daily looks like it just wants to drop it all the way back down, right? Um, if this news holds up, we had a big red day in the market, period. So that could be the cause of this. But if it holds up, if it holds some of these moving averages, especially, and it can get above that 135 AVWAP level, which is way up here, then it can easily come up to test the top of this. So you got to see where it opens. So I think that's something that we have to watch. We have to watch Monday morning, and then see how it opens and see how Amazon opens and watch them both together. Let's see who else is reporting this week, or who's reporting this week. Best Buy, Futu, Baidu, CrowdStrike. I got a bad track record with CrowdStrike. MDB, AI. Yeah, I don't like any, like Five, Broadcom. I don't play any of these names. PagerDuty is a pretty good one. Let's look at PagerDuty. The PagerDuty. It's another hard. Yeah, it's like another hard one to play. Doesn't look good at all. It looks very bearish to me. My boy put me onto this ticker, and he knows how to play. I can't play this ticker. I don't even want to waste our time. I mean, it looks like it wants to potentially break. I don't know. I can't tell. I really can't tell with this price action. There's no clear trend. There's no clear trend here. I mean, it's underneath all the moving averages, underneath the 50, so maybe it can come back down and test the trend line. But I feel like even just analyzing this right now is kind of forced. I mean, that's potentially, especially with a big volume coming in on Friday for sell pressure. A bunch of sellers on this day. Yeah, most of the volume spikes come in with sellers. So I don't know. Maybe it'll fall down, and I got to do some more research on what they do too. I know they're a tech company, a service-based company, but I don't see Chewy. I had Chewy on a nice put play and get to take it. I had Chewy on a put play on this day, and we could have had a nice swing. Looking at Chewy at failed inverse head and shoulders. Looking at Chewy, it looks like it's just kind of trading within this range on the weekly, right? And it broke the low of the previous week of that week, the range of this week. The next one to test would be that one, and then I would say this one. Yeah, this Chewy looks good for a downside. 37. The only thing is, people love their dogs and their cats and their fish and their birds, and I think that like summertime, for some reason, I feel like summertime seasonally is probably more expensive for pets for some reason. Maybe people are traveling, they're traveling with pets, and they need like pet travel gear and pet travel. I don't know. I don't own any pets, so I just don't know. Every time I get on a plane, I see people carrying their pets. And I see every time I go to the park, I see people out with their pets with all these toys and all this extra stuff, right? That's what Chewy's in the business of. So I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know in terms of financially, fundamentally, how they are in terms of summer. Let me just look at the seasonality for them real quick. Yeah, we could look at snow. Just want to see what seasonality is for Chewy. I do like the chart for the downside. Oh, this is funny as hell. Look at the trade. I'm gonna post it on the trade floor. This is the seasonality for Chewy. September is missing. Alright, well that's interesting. September, that's gotta be a glitch because look at how big October is and there's no September. So anyway, I like it for the put. I think it has some downside. It has earnings on the 30th, which is on Tuesday, so maybe we can get like a quick day trade out of it. And just add Chewy to my list. EA, watch, pre-market, Chewy. I like Chewy for the downside. Trade earnings on Tuesday. Right, Tuesday night. So we can have a swing. There's a swing trade there. And then we'll look at snow. And just swing. Alright. Yeah, snow's gonna be tough, only because, well, here's the thing. I'm gonna get rid of some of these. So snow's gonna be tough only because it has that massive gap. We don't know what it's gonna do. So far, it looks like it's holding. Right. So far, it looks like it's holding. Let's give it away. Right. Now the way that it's kind of sitting, it looks like it wants to wait until it reaches this it might want to channel into this 200 day, right? 200 day. You might want to channel into that 200 day, which means it goes sideways for a bunch of days. If we look at, I want to look at, I can't see it too clearly. Let me see. If we look at the 20 just crossed 100, right? The 20 day just crossed 100 day. The 50 day looks like it's getting ready to cross the 100 day soon, right? The red line and that peach, tan, peach, whatever, khaki, whatever line color that. And then we have the 200 day up here. So I was looking for the gap down on this day and got spanked. And then we played calls and the calls paid, but then it got spanked again. So now that we kind of found this channel, I want to see it kind of bounce up in this area and get really aggressive and try to reclaim this high of this day. Now that we had that sell-off on Friday, even with Friday's sell-off, if you look at Friday SPX candle, which was a big ass red candle, you look at snow. Snow is still a green candle. It's still close higher than it opened, which is good for snow. Shows strength. And some decent volume came in for it on. So now if it falls below that channel for whatever reason, really it needs to break down below this level here. And if it breaks down below that level, I want to see it come test that level and then that level. If it and based on where it's at now, it might fall and kind of catch support on one of these. And if it does catch support and it does show kind of a reversal pattern or some buyers step in at the bottom of these lines, at that point I'll probably say, all right, let's go to the upside. I noticed that with snow, I've been calling the first move, and the first move has been hot for about one 30-minute candlestick, and then it kind of dies out. So what I'll do is starting tomorrow, I'll watch snow. Snow I'll keep like as a, look at it on 10:30 and beyond, or 10 o'clock and beyond, not necessarily at the very first few minutes of the day. Now what I look for with snow, last time I played it and I had success with it, is like usually on trend days, but like it seems like it likes to reverse a lot. Like it came here and reversed. Here it had a trend day. It kind of made a nice move here and had a trend day. So some days it does. I just haven't been catching it on trend days. So I wanted to hold this channel, and I wanted to stay above 196.48 in order to stay in the channel. So pretty much where it's at now, it needs to just go up from there. If it goes down, I wouldn't play a put on it. I would probably just wait until it finds a base on one of these, and then from there work its way back up. Just because it showed so much strength on Friday compared to the rest of the market, you know, and then we got the bullish engulfing on the weekly, which will give us some upside targets once it decides to choose up as a direction. So we have to get above that level where we rejected on Friday. We gotta get, and then we can get the 200-day, which will meet us right at that level. So more bullish than anything, just because the weekly keeps everything into perspective. If we do fall into this area underneath 187.23, at that point we have a chance to fill that gap to the downside into these moving averages. So I would just watch out for that. Like I know I see the pre-market candlestick there, but this is still, to me, this still qualifies as a gap. Right, still qualifies as a gap. Let me put it up on this side. The reason why it qualifies as a gap for me is because of the amount of volume. Right, there's volume here. There's no volume on this candlestick. It's like somebody just set the market. You know, it was here. Somebody just set the market up here. That was that. Right, all that stuff occurred after hours. We watched it when it happened, but you know, there's no volume there. So if it falls down below kind of this level here, and then definitely below this level here, then we can potentially try to test some areas down here. I don't know if it's gonna fall way down, but it can easily fall fast into some of these 179.95, 180, right? Previous levels. So that's what I'll be watching on Snow. I think it's bullish, especially since it held up the way that Spy fell and Snow held. I think it's super bullish, and this weekly engulfing bar is very bullish. And we've already been on the uptrend. It's not like we just started a new uptrend. This has been on an uptrend for a couple of weeks now. So right. I'm trying it up. So I want to see it reclaim this level here, 201.88 or 202.49 rather, and then from there we can go to 220. And if I were to play calls on it, I would, you know, I'm not gonna, I can't say anything yet because I want to see what it ends up doing at the open. I'd probably play like the 215s on this, 210s, 215s, 220s, right? Play those in that order. Play 210s if you want to get in right away. 205s, 210, 215, 220. Do it that way. And then you can do weekly, or if you have the money for it, you can do next week. All right. Next week I wouldn't go too far out. I would do the 205s and 210s. And if we just look at them real quick, Snow 2. I can play 200s too, because we're still not at 200s. 200. 200 for this week. What week am I in? September 2nd. 200 calls for this week. 550 to 560 bid ask, with 6,800 on open interest. 205, 350 to 370. 350 to 370 bid ask. 530 on open interest. 210s. 215, 225 on the bid ask. 734 open interest. 215s, $1.20, $1.35, 498 open interest. 220s, way too far for this week in my opinion. 65 to 80, 454 open interest. All right. Next week 215 and 220 is probably better. I will do as far out as 215 this week. And obviously, as the day as Friday approaches, it gets much cheaper, and we can decide how far we want to go. Next week, 220s. Next week, 220s are OI of 88, bid ask 195, 220, 215s, 285, 320, 210, 410, 440, 205s, 570, 610. So decent spreads. Not much open interest on next week's, but a lot of open interest on this week's. 210 is probably the furthest I will go out this week. And that's that's if we break this high on this candlestick, which is 205.55. Now we'll go at 210. What else you guys got? Let's look at snow seasonality real quick. Week September. So I wouldn't go crazy with the swing. I would keep it on a day trade, a 2-day trade or something. Let's see. Oh, Express is reporting. Let's see the Express. I used to when I got my first corporate job, or not really corporate job, but office job, not even really corporate job. In Manhattan, I would shop at Express like crazy, and now people are working from home in their pajamas, so it's probably bad for Express. And Express is a penny stock at this point, so not even worth looking at. All right, well, if you guys don't have anything else, then if you do, go ahead and drop it in the server now, and I'll take a look at it later. I'm gonna go have coffee now. Thank you guys for being part of this every single week. We find these setups and they've played out for us, right? They played out for us. If you look at last week's, Apple's going according to plan. SPY's going according to plan. Wow, that was yeah. Apple's going according to plan. SPY's going according to plan. So I see again more downside here. Now this could be an instance where the market is overly bearish and we all get killed because we have reloaded puts, right? But I think that we could easily come back to test some of these levels. So I'm looking for downside. If anybody sees me playing calls on Monday morning, if the whole market isn't going up, please call me out and be like, yo, what are we doing, right? Let's make a decision here. Because overall, long game right now is downside. So I think we should just capitalize on downside, keep our eyes on the prize. Puts always pay more than calls do, in my opinion, because fear is a stronger emotion than euphoria and love, right? So, and looking at this, 4,000 looks like it's a magnet. We might hit 4,000 at the market open at open of the futures tonight, right? We might be at 4,000. We might hit it overnight. So let's continue to watch it. Thank you guys for being part of this. Each and every week, you guys show up and it shows, right? It shows, and your profits and your questions get better, and your profits go up, and your skills go up, right? So thank you for being here, sharpening an eye for me, and I'll catch you on the next one, guys. Thank you so much.
Frank, are you still on? Are you still here? I am.